There is a dangerous lie that has been quietly disciplining your life, and most of you have never questioned it. The lie is this: everything matters equally. I want to challenge that belief, because if everything matters, then nothing has priority, and if nothing has priority, then your life will be driven by pressure instead of purpose. Let me ask you a question. What if the reason you feel overwhelmed is not because you have too much to do, but because you have given importance to things that were never designed to carry weight in your life? I have discovered something that will sound offensive at first, but it will set you free if you understand it. Mature people learn to live as if many things do not matter, not because they are careless, but because they are focused. You see, when you don't decide what matters, life will decide for you. And life is a poor manager of purpose. So today, I want to teach you how to act as if nothing matters, not as an escape from responsibility, but as a strategy to protect your assignment, preserve your peace, and execute your purpose with precision. I define nothing matters as the discipline of refusing to give emotional weight to what is not assigned to my purpose. Now stay with me, because this is where most people lose control of their lives, not because they lack ability, but because they lack definition. When I don't define what deserves my attention, I will emotionally react to everything that demands it. And life is full of demands that were never designed to carry my focus. You see, my life is not a random existence. I was created with intention. That means there are things assigned to me, and there are things that are not assigned to me. And maturity is when I stop responding to everything as if it belongs to me. Let me make this clear. Anything that is not connected to my purpose does not deserve my emotional investment. Because whatever I give emotion to, I empower. Whatever I react to, I give authority over my state of mind. That means if I keep reacting to opinions, to criticism, to temporary situations, to distractions, then I am allowing things that have no assignment in my life to control my internal environment. And this is why many people are tired. Not because they are doing too much, but because they are feeling too much about things that are irrelevant. I have learned something. Purpose simplifies life. When I know why I exist, I automatically eliminate what does not serve that reason. It becomes easy to say no. It becomes natural to ignore noise. It becomes normal to remain calm in situations that used to disturb me. Why? Because I have already decided what matters. There is a principle I live by. I do not have the emotional capacity to carry everything, so I must be selective. Even God operates by assignment. Everything created has a function, a boundary, a purpose. The sun does not try to be the moon. The ocean does not try to become the sky. Each one stays within its assignment, and because of that, creation remains in order. But when I step outside of my assignment emotionally, I create internal chaos. Let me ask you something. How many of the things that disturb you today will matter in 5 years? How many arguments, how many opinions, how many frustrations are actually connected to your purpose? Very few. And yet, they consume your thoughts, your energy, your peace. This is why I discipline myself to ask one question before I react. Is this assigned to me? If it is not assigned to me, then it does not deserve my emotion. That does not mean I become careless. It means I become intentional. It means I stop wasting my strength on things that were never part of my design. A manufacturer never creates a product without defining its function. And when the product tries to do what it was not designed to do, it malfunctions. In the same way, when I give emotional weight to things outside my purpose, I malfunction internally. So I have made a decision. I will not give importance to everything that happens around me. I will only give importance to what aligns with why I am here. Because when I master this discipline, I don't just protect my peace, I preserve my purpose. I understand that distraction is not harmless, it is the enemy of purpose, and I must treat it as irrelevant. Now listen carefully, because most people underestimate distraction. They think distraction is a small interruption, something temporary, something innocent. But I have discovered that distraction is strategic. It is not accidental. Anything that pulls me away from my assignment is working against my purpose, whether I recognize it or not. You see, purpose demands focus. And anything that competes for my focus is competing with my destiny. That means distraction is not just a nuisance, it is opposition. Let me make this very practical. If I am called to build something meaningful with my life, then anything that consistently diverts my attention from building is not neutral. It is destructive. Not because it looks dangerous, but because it steals time. And time is the raw material of purpose. I cannot fulfill purpose in the future if I keep surrendering my present to distractions. And here is where many people are deceived. Distraction rarely comes in the form of something evil. It often comes dressed as something good, but not necessary. Conversations that are not assigned to me. Opportunities that look attractive, but are not aligned. Emotional entanglements that drain me, but produce nothing. So I must develop the discipline to ask, is this necessary for my purpose? Or is it simply available to my attention? Because availability does not equal assignment. Even in Scripture, when God gives instruction, there's always clarity of focus. When a man is sent on assignment, he is not told to respond to everything. He is told to complete what he was sent to do. That means anything outside of that instruction is, by definition, a distraction. And here is the danger. Distraction feels urgent, but it is rarely important. It demands immediate reaction. It pressures me to respond. It creates the illusion that if I ignore it, something will be lost. But in reality, what I lose is far greater. When I give in to it, I lose direction. Let me give you a simple analogy. If I am driving to a destination and I keep turning the steering wheel every time I see something interesting on the roadside, I will never arrive. Not because the road is blocked, but because my attention is unstable. Many lives are not failing because of lack of opportunity. They are failing because of lack of focus. And focus is not natural. Focus is a decision. I must decide that my purpose deserves my attention more than distractions deserve my reaction. So I treat distraction as irrelevant, not because it does not exist, but because it does not qualify for my energy. You see, I do not respond to everything that calls me. I only respond to what is connected to my assignment. That means I will ignore things that others consider important. I will walk past opportunities that others chase. I will remain silent in situations where others feel the need to react. Not because I am unaware, but because I am disciplined. Because every time I say yes to distraction, I am saying no to purpose. And I refuse to exchange my destiny for temporary engagement. So I train my mind to recognize distraction quickly. I do not entertain it. I do not analyze it. I do not emotionally process it. I dismiss it, because what I entertain, I empower. And I have decided that my purpose will receive my full attention, undivided and uninterrupted. That is how I protect my life from being consumed by things that were never meant to matter. I choose purpose over pressure by deciding in advance what deserves my attention and what does not. Now, this is critical, because if I do not decide in advance, I will be forced to decide in the moment, and decisions made under pressure are rarely aligned with purpose. Pressure is a poor advisor. It is loud, it is urgent, and it is emotional. Purpose, on the other hand, is quiet, it is clear, and it is already defined. So I must settle something before the demands of life show up. What is worthy of my attention? Because attention is the currency of my life. Wherever I invest it, I fund. Whatever I consistently focus on, I build. That means if I allow pressure to dictate my attention, then I am building a life based on reaction, not intention. Let me explain it this way. Every day, life presents me with requests. People want my time. Situations demand my response. Opportunities compete for my energy. But not every request deserves access to me. And maturity is when I stop treating every request as an obligation. I have learned to pre-decide. I decide what matters before it is tested. That means when pressure comes, I am not confused. I am not negotiating. I am not emotionally trying to figure things out. I have already established boundaries based on my purpose. This is why many people feel overwhelmed. It is not because they are incapable, it is because they are undecided. They wake up without clarity, and so everything becomes important by default. And when everything feels important, pressure increases. But when I define my priorities, pressure loses its power, because pressure only works when there is uncertainty. When I know my assignment, I can calmly reject what does not belong. I do not need to explain myself to every demand. I do not need to feel guilty for saying no. I do not need to carry the burden of things that were never given to me. Even in Scripture, when God gives direction, it is specific. There is no confusion about assignment. And because of that clarity, there is confidence in execution. So I ask myself daily, What have I been assigned to build, to protect, to complete? And once I answer that, everything else becomes secondary. Let me give you a practical picture. Imagine I am a builder with limited materials and limited time. If I keep using my resources on projects that were never assigned to me, when the real assignment requires my attention, I will have nothing left to give. That is how many people live. They are exhausted before they ever reach their purpose. Not because they lack strength, but because they mismanaged their attention. So I have made a decision. I will not allow urgency to override importance. Just because something is loud does not mean it is significant. Just because something is immediate does not mean it is essential. I filter everything through purpose. If it aligns, I give it my focus fully. If it does not align, I release it without hesitation. And this is where discipline comes in. Because sometimes pressure will come from people. Expectations will come from others. And if I am not grounded in my purpose, I will try to satisfy everyone. And in doing so, I will abandon my assignment. But I cannot afford that. Because purpose is not optional, it is the reason I exist. So I choose purpose over pressure, not occasionally, but consistently. I train myself to respond based on pre-decided priorities, not emotional impulses. And when I master this, something powerful happens. I regain control over my life. I am no longer pulled in every direction. I am no longer reacting to everything around me. I become stable, focused, and intentional because I have already decided what matters and what does not. I guard my mind by refusing to internalize opinions, offenses, and temporary circumstances that have no eternal value. Now, this is where the real battle takes place, not around me, but within me. Because I have discovered that life does not control me from the outside, it influences me through what I allow into my mind. And if I do not guard my mind, I will become a product of everything people say, everything people do, and everything that happens around me. But I was never designed to be controlled by external noise. I was designed to be governed by purpose. So I have made a decision. Not everything deserves access to my thoughts. Because whatever enters my mind, if entertained long enough, will eventually shape my attitude. And my attitude will determine my actions. And my actions will define my life. So if I lose control of my mind, I lose control of my direction. This is why I am careful with opinions. Not every opinion is truth. Not every voice carries authority over my life. And if I accept every opinion, I will become confused, unstable, and distracted from my assignment. Let me ask you something. Why should someone who did not design your purpose have the power to redefine it through their opinion? It makes no sense. And yet many people are emotionally disturbed, not because something real has happened, but because someone said something. A comment, a criticism, a misunderstanding, and suddenly their peace is gone. That is not power. That is vulnerability. So I train myself to evaluate every opinion before I internalize it. If it does not align with truth, if it does not contribute to my growth, if it is not connected to my purpose, then it does not qualify for my attention. I release it. The same applies to offense. Offense is one of the most subtle distractions because it feels justified. It convinces me that I have a right to hold on to what someone did or said. But in reality, offense is a burden that I carry, not the other person. And anything I carry emotionally that is not assigned to my purpose will slow me down. So I ask myself, is holding on to this helping me fulfill my assignment, or is it draining my strength? If it is draining me, then it does not belong to me. So I let it go, not because it did not happen, but because it does not matter to my purpose. And then there are temporary circumstances. Situations change, conditions shift, problems arise, but not everything that happens is permanent, and not everything that happens deserves a permanent place in my mind. If I treat temporary situations as permanent realities, I will react emotionally to things that are only passing through my life. That means I will lose peace over something that has no lasting value. So I discipline myself to see beyond the moment. I remind myself that what I am experiencing right now is not the final outcome. And because of that, I refuse to let temporary conditions dictate my internal state. This is how I protect my mind. I filter everything. Opinions must pass through purpose. Offense must pass through purpose. Circumstances must pass through purpose. If they do not align, they are rejected. Because my mind is too valuable to be occupied by things that have no eternal significance. And when I master this, I become stable. I am not easily shaken. I am not emotionally manipulated by every situation. I remain focused, clear, and steady. Because I have learned that guarding my mind is not optional, it is essential for protecting my purpose. I measure importance by alignment with purpose, not by urgency, noise, or emotional intensity. Now, this is where I separate discipline from impulse. Because most people have been trained to respond to what feels important instead of what is important. And feelings are not reliable indicators of purpose. Urgency will make everything feel important. Noise will make everything sound important. Emotional intensity will make everything seem important. But none of these are accurate measurements of true value. So I had to change my standard. I no longer ask, how loud is this? I ask, is this aligned? Because alignment is the only true measure of importance. Let me explain this carefully. Just because something is urgent does not mean it is essential. Urgency is simply a demand for immediate attention, but purpose is not built on urgency, it is built on intentionality. If I allow urgency to control me, I will spend my life responding instead of building. And noise is even more deceptive. We live in a world full of voices, opinions, expectations, trends, pressures. Everyone is speaking, everyone is demanding, everyone is presenting something as important. But volume does not equal value. Just because something is loud does not mean it is relevant to me. So So I must develop the ability to remain unmoved by noise. Because if I chase everything that is loud, I will miss what is essential. Then there is emotional intensity. This is where many people lose control. If something makes them feel strongly, anger, excitement, fear, they immediately give it importance. They react, they engage, they invest energy. But I have learned that strong feelings do not equal true significance. There are things that will provoke me emotionally, but have no connection to my purpose. And if I allow my emotions to define importance, then my life will be unstable, constantly shifting based on how I feel in the moment. So I had to make a decision. My emotions will not lead me, my purpose will. This is maturity. When I stop measuring importance by how something feels and start measuring it by where it fits. Let me give you a simple picture. If I have a key, that key is only valuable if it fits a specific door. It does not matter how shiny it looks or how heavy it feels. If it does not align with the lock, it is useless in that context. In the same way, opportunities, situations, and demands may look attractive, they may feel urgent, they may sound important, but if they do not align with my purpose, they do not have value in my life. So I filter everything through alignment. Before I commit my time, I ask, does this move me closer to my assignment? Before I invest my energy, I ask, is this connected to what I was created to accomplish? Before I give my attention, I ask, will this contribute to my purpose or distract me from it? If the answer is no, then it does not matter. No matter how urgent, no matter how loud, no matter how emotional it feels. And this requires discipline. Because sometimes what aligns with purpose is not what feels comfortable. Sometimes it requires patience. Sometimes it requires silence. Sometimes it requires saying no when everything around me is saying yes. But I understand something. I am not here to respond to everything. I am here to fulfill something. And that changes how I live. I am no longer moved by pressure. I am no longer distracted by noise. I am no longer controlled by emotions. I become steady. I become focused. I become intentional. Because I have established one standard, if it does not align with my purpose, it does not qualify as important. And when I live by this, I simplify my life in a powerful way. I stop carrying unnecessary burdens. I stop chasing irrelevant things. I stop reacting to temporary demands. And I give my full attention to what truly matters, my assignment. That is how I protect my time, my energy, and my destiny. So now you understand what I mean when I say, act as if nothing matters. It was never about becoming careless. It was never about ignoring responsibility. It was about mastering focus. It was about protecting purpose. It was about refusing to give your life to things that were never designed to carry it. Because the truth is this, your life will always move in the direction of what you treat as important. If you treat everything as important, you will be distracted. If you treat noise as important, you will be confused. If you treat pressure as important, you will be overwhelmed. But when you decide intentionally, deliberately, and unapologetically that only purpose matters, everything else loses its power over you. You begin to walk differently. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop chasing every opportunity. You stop carrying every burden. And you become focused. You become disciplined. You become dangerous to distraction, because now you are not living by what happens around you. You are living by what has been placed within you. Let me leave you with this. Your assignment is too valuable to be diluted by things that do not matter. So protect it, guard it, commit to it. And when life tries to pull you in every direction, stand firm and remember, if it is not aligned with my purpose, it does not deserve my attention. That is how you take control of your life. That is how you preserve your peace. And that is how you fulfill your destiny. Good luck, and thank you.